thinking, oh, let's wait and see what happens. If we are assuming our co-creative capacity, then that onus right now is on us, instead of saying, well, what's going to happen? What do you think? Saying, well, what do you want to see happen? How do we want to see it happen? What does it look like? What is the change that we've been waiting for, and how do we, in our here and now, personally and responsibly, make that happen? Mm-hmm. How do we see it happening? How do we reflect it back into our environment, our life, and our love?
And for me, I try to continually go beyond whatever it is that I've created. In other words, if I have some kind of vision for the future, some field of possibilities, I try to continue to expand that beyond my ability to comprehend it. Because I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we limit ourselves, and then so many people too want to apply what they think or want to have happen to everyone else. And I don't think that it works like that.
You're very, very real and accurate. I mean, all of the pieces that have come out in terms of, like, okay, manifest your reality and all of that, that's like step one. It's kindergarten 1.
Right.
And then you get to the point where you recognize that as a point of divinity, we have access, yes, to co-create with limitlessness, and the gift and the challenge is to co-create with the limitless expression of omnipotence, meaning we don't need to know what that is. We just know that we are co-creating it.
Right.
And doing it from a divine perspective. So there are underlying goals and foundations that we've been taught, like, not my will, thy will. And when we surrender that, I mean, it's not just, oh, we want to give away our ego or our humanness. We want to recognize that we are simultaneously all and nothing at the same time. Mm-hmm. And the way you defined it is accurate. Yes, absolutely, to embrace the ongoing evolutionary expression that we're all responsible for. Mm-hmm. We all came here for this reason. We all have a piece to share and to offer, and a component that is, it's limitless, and no one else can do the same piece that we're doing. In concert with that, it's to hold that from a place of emptiness and say, but it doesn't have to look like this. Like this predefined goal objective. If it doesn't look exactly like that, if it is, it's coming from human goals and objectives as opposed to divine co-creation.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense. Are you interested in sharing any of your experiences in your travels or in your scuba diving experiences? I know you've been to Peru and some other interesting places to visit. Does any of that interest you to share with the listeners?
I think, one of the keys, which firstly, some of the gifts from nature that I've been given, all of them they're divine gifts. And a lot of them have come from places deep in the earth, like hundreds of feet down, where human consciousness does not exist. The true core of consciousness there is nature and only nature, to visit for a moment or a couple breaths. I think if I was to try to summarize what all of that means because each one of them is basically a miracle in itself. Each one of them, the way they've been gifted is, like a 2-hour-long story in itself.
Okay.
But what I would say is that there are expressions of nature that I can't say that humanity has forgotten because we are a part of it. But there are expressions of nature that are so pure, they correlate to those absolute pure parts of self, of our greater self, that have never left us, that we're in the process of remembering.
I like that.
And those are the pieces that are here to trigger our remembrance of soul, of wholeness, of who we are in the truest expression, beyond societal programs, thoughts, beliefs, genetic patterns, all of that. And those parts of nature they're around us every day. There are definitely factors and forces which we as humanity have even participated in that they're confusing that. They're creating a distortion level so that more and more we're finding it difficult as humanity, at least in this moment. That's our challenge and our opportunity, but to access that. But like I say, our greatest challenges are also our greatest opportunities. And, some of the synthetic nature of molecular structures that we're creating it's taking us further and further away from the truth of who we are, who a flower is, who a piece of seaweed in the depths of the ocean and its interrelationship with a piece of coral that has been there for eons. Those are the relationships that I think we need to strive to remember. We need to strive to come into a place of conscious awareness to start to open to, because as we open to, we're going to remember ourselves. We're going to remember our own deeper truth beyond any of what we've been told we are. Beyond, it has to look like this and you have to do that because that's what everybody's done before. They're going to trigger our real co-creative capacities as to why we all came to Earth at this time, why the rest of the galaxy is looking on Earth and saying, okay, what are they doing? Because it's going to impact us all. I think, these are the treasures. These are the keys that are so forgotten right now, but are so simple and are screaming and waiting for redefinition to be brought to awareness again.
I totally agree with you, and it seems that we're, under such a dense blanket of fog and denial and attachments to materialistic comforts and habits and gadgets and so on and so forth, that we've literally become slaves to our own desires. And it's going to take some major shifting around to really force us, and I think that there are going to be some major shifts in the very near future before the end of this year is up, that will, probably rock most of the world. And I don't know what the nature of that might be, but I have some ideas about what it could be, and it's time. It's time for us to awaken. It's time for us to begin going within and shed some of this falseness that keeps us mired in the illusion. One of the things that I was wondering about you that I thought might be fun to talk about, since you do scuba diving, and I've always thought that would be just a wonderful experience. I've only snorkeled in Mexico, But have you ever communicated with the dolphins and the whales, and what is that experience like?
For years I have. And,
oh, okay.
And as a matter of fact, you know, I would say they were some of my original teachers in this lifetime. The humpback whales and the dolphins, and I've had the pleasure of facilitating a lot of trips, a lot in Hawaii and also in Bimini, to take people to swim with the dolphins in the wild, again, it being their choice, and also in the Dominican Republic where, again, a certain small number of boats have been given licensing, and you can actually be in the water with humpback whales.
Wow.
And a lot of my work I've been privileged to be in association with these tremendous beings. You know, they are absolutely extraordinary. Their consciousness, I mean, we have been so limited in terms of our understanding of them. I mean, it's like trying to take Einstein, some of our tests with the dolphins, it's been like taking Einstein and trying to say, okay, now we're going to teach you how to play blocks. You know? But there's, you know, in their innermost expression, there are levels, they represent levels of freedom. And, of course, with the whales, the Akashic Records, the wisdom of who we are, not just as we think we are, but exactly as I was defining in our truth of beingness, and the planet, you know, the planet herself, our interrelationship with her as a being, as someone that we love, that we co-create with. We don't just say, oh, let's just dump all our negative energy into the earth and she'll take it. Like, when do we get over that concept? Like, stop with that.
Yeah, right.
Deal with your own crap, you know.
Right.
And I, you know, I do know that many of your listeners are the road-weary warriors who have given and continue to give and need to be acknowledged and are taking a huge hit because of their sensitivity.
Yeah.
You know, we strive to be attuned, we strive to be aware, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, that just like knocked you there, and oh, that made you sensitive to that. I mean, that means that we have to be sensitive to all of it, not just, oh, we want to lock ourselves up in the room and say, oh, we only want the nice, fuzzy, fluffy stuff. Yeah. So, you know, I pay honor and acknowledgement to many beings in your audience who are road weary and have been knocked about and are continuing to be knocked about by, in many ways, unknown assailants, unknown energetics, like, where did that come from? Like, what's in that chemtrail? What's in that carpet? I mean, it's really the above and below. And right. So how do we as sensitives make sense of all this? How do we take this and recognize in its most difficult expression, we're here to bring consciousness to it? And I think that's precisely it, Zany. I mean, we cannot just close our eyes and put our hands over our ears and say, baby kittens, and all is good and all is well. You know, we're walking through and we're bringing consciousness to that which needs to be changed, that which needs to be evolved. Yeah. Unless we witness it, we can't even define the possibility that there's a potential for change.
Well, it does sometimes feel like walking on a bed of hot coals lately. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people who can relate to that right now. you could point to a zillion and one reasons why, including astrological alignments. Right.
And doing it from a divine perspective. So there are underlying goals and foundations that we've been taught, like not my will, thy will. And when we surrender that, I mean, it's not just, we want to give away our ego or our humanness. We want to recognize that we are simultaneously all and nothing at the same time. And the way you defined it is accurate. Yes, make that happen. How do we see it happening? How do we reflect it back into our environment, our life, and our love?
And for me, I try to continually go beyond whatever it is that I've created. In other words, if I have some kind of vision for the future, some field of possibilities, I try to continue to expand that beyond my ability to...
And all of that. That's like step one. It's kindergarten 1.
Right.
And then you get to the point where you recognize that as a point of divinity, we have access, yes, to co-create with limitlessness. And the gift and the challenge is to co-create with the limitless expression of omnipotence, meaning we don't need to know what that is. We just know that we are co-creating it.
Comprehend it. Because I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we limit ourselves, and then so many people, too, want to apply what they think or want to have happen to everyone else. And I don't think that it works like that.
You're very, very real and accurate. I mean, all of the pieces that have come out in terms of like, okay, manifest your reality, thinking, let's wait and see what happens. If we are assuming our co-creative capacity, then that onus right now is on us instead of saying, well, what's going to happen? What do you think? Saying, well, what do you want to see happen? How do we want to see it happen? What does it look like? What is the change that we've been waiting for, and how do we, in our here and now, personally and responsibly,